Okay, Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Mahārāja, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And today on New Year's Day is actually Sripad Puri Mahārāja's birthday on the solar calendar, on the normal calendar that people follow. So we're very happy to be here in the association of the devotees. Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, chapter 22, text 39. Yat padha pankajha palasa vilasa bhaktya karmashayam gratitam udgratayanti shanta tadvanna rikta matayo yatayo pirudha shroto ganastam aranam vajavasudevam. The devotees who are always engaged in the service of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord can very easily overcome hard-knotted desires for fruitive activities, because this is very difficult. The non-devotees, the jnanis and yogis, although trying to stop the waves of sense gratification, cannot do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. Purport. There are three kinds of transcendentalists trying to overcome the influence of the modes of material nature: the jnanis, yogis, and bhaktas. All of them attempt to overcome the influence of the senses, which is compared to the incessant waves of a river. The waves of a river flow incessantly, and it is very difficult to stop them. Similarly, the waves of desire for material enjoyment are so strong that they cannot be stopped by any process other than bhakti yoga. The bhaktas, by their transcendental devotional service unto the lotus feet of the Lord, become so overwhelmed with transcendental bliss that automatically their desires for material enjoyment stop. The jnanis and yogis who are not attached to the lotus feet of the Lord simply struggle against the waves of desire. They are described in this verse as rikta mataya, which means devoid of devotional service. In other words, the jnanis and yogis, although trying to be free from the desires of material activities, actually become more and more entangled in false philosophical speculation or strenuous attempts to stop the activities of the senses. As stated previously, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janyatyasu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahoitukam. Bhagavatam Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 7. Here also the same point is stressed. Bhaja Vasudevam indicates that one who is engaged in the loving service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, can very easily stop the waves of desires. As long as one continues to try to artificially stop the waves of desires, he will certainly be defeated. That is indicated in this verse. Desires for fruitive activities are strongly rooted, but the trees of desire can be uprooted completely by devotional service, because devotional service employs superior desire. One can give up inferior desires when engaged in superior desires. To try to stop desires is impossible. One has to desire the supreme in order not to be entangled in inferior desires. Jnanis maintain a desire to become one with the supreme, but such desire is also considered inferior. Jnanis maintain a desire to become one with the Supreme, but such a desire is also considered to be kama, or lust. Similarly, the yogis desire mystic power, and that is also kama. And the bhaktas, not being desirous of any sort of material enjoyment, become purified. There is no artificial attempt to stop desire. desire becomes a source of spiritual enjoyment under the protection of the toes of the lotus feet of the Lord. It is stated herein by the Kumāras that the lotus feet of Lord Krishna are the ultimate reservoir of all pleasure. One should therefore take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord instead of trying unsuccessfully to stop desires for material enjoyment. As long as one is unable to stop the desire for material enjoyment, there is no possibility of becoming liberated from the entanglement of material existence. It may be argued that the waves of a river are incessantly flowing and that they cannot be stopped, but the waves of the river flow toward the sea. When the tide comes over the river, it overwhelms the flowing of the river, and the river itself becomes overflooded. Then the waves from the sea become more prominent than the waves from the river. Similarly, a devotee with intelligence plans so many things for the service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness that stagnant material desires become overflooded by the desire to serve the Lord. As confirmed by Yamunacharya, since he has been engaged in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, there is always a current of newer and newer desires flowing to serve the Lord. So much so that the stagnant desire of sex life becomes very insignificant. Yamunacharya even says that he spits on such desires. Bhagavad Gita 2.59 also confirms param dristva nivartate. The conclusion is that by developing a loving desire for the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, we subdue all material desires for sense gratification. Text 40. Kritro mahan iha bhavan rinavam aplavisham sadvarganakram ashukena titishantihi tatvam hare bhagavato bhajaniyam angrim kritvodupam vyasanam uttaradustaranam. The ocean of nescience is very difficult to cross because it is infested with many dangerous sharks. Although those who are non-devotees undergo severe austerities and penances to cross that ocean, we recommend that you simply take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are like boats for crossing the ocean. Although the ocean is very difficult to cross, by taking shelter of his lotus feet, you will overcome all dangers. Purport. Material existence is compared herein to the great ocean of nescience. Another name of this ocean is Vaitarani. In that Vaitarani ocean, which is the causal ocean, there are innumerable universes floating like footballs. On the other side of the ocean is the spiritual world of Vaikuntha, which is described in Bhagavad Gita 8.20 as parastasmat tu bhavonyaha. Thus, there is an ever-existing spiritual nature which is beyond this material nature. Even though all the material universes are annihilated again and again in the causal ocean, the Vaikuntha planets, which are spiritual, exist eternally and are not subject to dissolution. The human form of life gives the living entity a chance to cross the ocean of nescience, which is this material universe, and enter into the spiritual sky. Although there are many methods or boats by which one can cross the ocean, the Kumāras recommend that the king take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, just as one would take shelter of a good boat. Non-devotees who do not take shelter of the Lord's lotus feet try to cross the ocean of nescience by other methods, karma, jnana, and yoga, but they have a great deal of trouble. Indeed, sometimes they become so busy simply enjoying their troubles that they never cross the ocean. There is no guarantee that the non-devotees will cross the ocean, but even though they manage to cross, they have to undergo severe austerities and penances. On the other hand, anyone who takes to the process of devotional service and has faith on the lotus feet of the Lord, are safe boats to cross that ocean, is certain to cross very easily and comfortably. Pṛthu Maharaj is therefore advised to take the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord to easily cross over all dangers. Dangerous elements in the universe are compared to sharks in the ocean. Even though one may be a very expert swimmer, he cannot possibly survive if he is attacked by sharks. One often sees that so many so-called swamis and yogis sometimes advertise themselves as competent to cross the ocean of nescience and to help others cross. But in actuality, they are found to be simply victims of their own senses. Instead of helping their followers to cross the ocean of nescience, such swamis and yogis fall prey to Maya, represented by the fair sex, woman, and are thus devoured by the sharks in that ocean. Text 41. Maitreya uvacha sa evam brahmaputrena kumarenatma medasa darshitatma gati samyak prasasyo vacha tam nripa. The great sage Maitreya continued, being thus enlightened in complete spiritual knowledge by the son of Brahma, one of the Kumāras who was completely in spiritual knowledge, the king worshipped them in the following words. Purport. In this verse, the word Atma Medhasa is commented upon by Sripad Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who says that Atmani means unto Lord Krishna, Paramatmani. Lord Krishna is Paramatma, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Brahma Samhita 15.1. Therefore, one whose mind is acting fully in Krishna consciousness is called Atma Medha. This may be contrasted to the word Griha Medhi, which refers to one whose brain is always engrossed with thoughts of material activities. The Atma Medha is always thinking of Krishna's activities and Krishna consciousness. Since Sanat Kumar, who was a son of Lord Brahma, was fully Krishna conscious, he could point out the path of spiritual advancement. The word Atmagati refers to that path of activities which one can make progress in understanding Krishna. Text 42. Rajo Vacha Krito Menu Graha Purvam Harinartanu Kampina Tam Apadai Tam Brahman Bhagavan Yuyam Agata. The king said, O Brahmana, O powerful one, formerly Lord Vishnu showed me his causeless mercy, indicating that you would come to my house, and to confirm that blessing you have all come. Purport. When Lord Vishnu appeared in the great arena of sacrifice at the time when King Pṛthu was performing a great sacrifice, the Asvamedha, he predicted that the Kumāras would very soon come and advise the king. Therefore, Pṛthu Maharaj remembered the causeless mercy of the Lord, and thus welcomed the arrival of the Kumāras, who were fulfilling the Lord's prediction. In other words, when the Lord makes a prediction, he fulfills that prediction through some of his devotees. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu predicted that both his glorious names and the Hare Krishna Mahamantra would be broadcast in all the towns and villages of the world. Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada desired to fulfill this great prediction, and we are following in their footsteps. Regarding his devotees, Lord Krishna told Arjuna, Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranasyati. O son of Kunti, declare boldly that my devotee will never perish. Bhagavad Gita 9.31. The point is that the Lord himself could declare such things But it was his desire to make the declaration through Arjuna, and thus doubly assure that his promise would never be broken. The Lord himself promises, and his confidential devotees execute the promise. The Lord makes so many promises for the benefit of suffering humanity. Although the Lord is very compassionate upon suffering humanity, human beings are generally not very anxious to serve him. The relationship is something like that between the Father and the Son. The Father is always anxious for the welfare of the Son, even though the Son forgets or neglects the Father. The word anukampina is significant. The Lord is so compassionate upon the living entities that he comes himself into this world in order to benefit fallen souls. Yadha yadha hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam shrujamyaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Thus, it is out of compassion that the Lord appears in his different forms. Lord Sri Krishna appeared on this planet out of compassion for fallen souls. Lord Buddha appeared out of compassion for the poor animals who were being killed by the demons. Lord Narasimhadev appeared out of compassion for Prahlad Maharaj. The conclusion is that the Lord is so compassionate upon the fallen souls within this material world that he comes himself or sends his devotees and his servants to fulfill his desire to have all the fallen souls come back home, back to Godhead. Thus Lord Sri Krishna instructed Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna for the benefit of the entire human society. Intelligent men should therefore seriously consider this Krishna consciousness movement and fully utilize the instructions of Bhagavad Gita as preached without adulteration by his pure devotees. And thus ends our reading for today. We will continue from text 43 on Friday. Were there any contributions or comments or questions from the assembled devotees before we close? Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Mahārāja Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Guru Dev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Shanta Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Rupa Nuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhaktivedanta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Nrsimhapali Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai. Ganga Mai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Gir Govardhan, Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai, Sham Kund, Radha Kund Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi, Bhakti Devi, Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Institute Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai, Nitya Gaura Premanandi, Hari 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 Bol, Jai Shrimati Uma Devi Dasi Ki Jai, Jai Sripad, Aditi Nandana Prabhu Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Sripad Krishna Kesha Prabhu Ji ki jai.
Jai.
Jai Gurudev.
Hare Krishna.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Well, as I say. Is it really Happy New Year for us, though? Won't we doing New Year sometime in maybe February or March or something? Isn't
Yes,
that how we go?
The Gaudiya Vaishnavas recognize Gaur Purnim as the as the New Year because that's the advent of Mahaprabhu. But
Right.
anyhow, that's the real New Year, yes, for us at least.
Yeah.
But, anyhow.
Anyway, Happy
good.
New Year for sure.
Yeah. Dhanyavad Pranam.
Dhanyavad.